Here we go. Luke, how you doing?
Good, pal, you?
I'm good. I was literally going to sit back so you can see me. Just telling everybody that this has been, I don't know, 3 or 4 years in the making.
Yeah, was it when I first went out on my own?
It was, yeah. Yeah.
That'll be 4 years in March, so yeah, nearly.
Wow. Yeah, so it's taken us this long to get back up to full speed.
Yeah, what happened? You got like technical stuff.
We had a drama. Yeah, so backstory, yeah, we had an eye on Luke, years ago. You stepped out, went alone. We knew you were going to be doing some big things in the session circuit, so we wanted to interview you. We wanted to get you on the platform then. And we put all that work in. You put the time in, gave us a lovely interview, and literally just before we did a load of other work coming up. We was going to launch in September around Fashion Week. We wanted you to be the expose around that. And then our website got hacked. We couldn't get into the back end. They changed the coding.
Oh, really?
And yeah, what I thought was going to take a week took like 4 months to get it back up and running. But hey, that's a long story. Here we are 4 years later. One of the biggest messages we've been doing through lockdown is the power of creativity, the importance of positivity, and facing adversity.
Like you said, it's just some things kind of come out of nowhere. I wasn't planning on going out on my own necessarily. I won London Hairdresser of the Year 2016, and which still, blows my mind. And I just didn't get kind of what I needed from, where I was, let's say. And I suppose I used that as a fuel to my fire in a way. And obviously, like, I suppose deep down, I'd always wanted to work for myself, and I'd always wanted to be in that world. So I was shooting, on days off, and
yeah,
a lot of friends who are photographers, makeup artists, all that sort of thing. So my book was developing, shall we say. And yeah, you go, one day you're London Hairdresser of the Year, and you think like you're the bee's knees, and you wake up one morning and you're actually unemployed London Hairdresser of the Year. Spending loads of money on business cards and websites and gowns and all that shit, just to make yourself think, oh no, I'm all right, I look professional now.
Yeah.
And you just wait, and you say yes to everything in a way. Someone needs someone for a shoot, you say yes. You don't have that allowance, I'd say, to be able to pick and choose what you want to be doing at that point. It's, even though you're out on your own, you're effectively starting a business where you're the only employee.
You've clearly, you talk about putting it all together really, but you've clearly got the complete package, mate. That your pictures of hair speak for themselves. So you've clearly got the great hair. You're booked and you're busy, so you're clearly amazing to be around on set as well. So you've kind of hit the formula.
I'd hold my hands up. I'm not the.
Do you have your bad days?
Yeah, I'm not the best hairdresser in the world. I went and I assisted. Angelo Seminara phoned me a couple of months ago and asked me could I go and be his sort of lead assistant on his Goldwell shoot that he did.
Yeah.
And you say yes to him, like
no hesitation.
I didn't even ask what it was.
No.
I was just like, yeah, So, and I go there and I watch him, and I think to yourself, you're miles away, like, So I suppose I have to think to myself, bloody hell, you better help out a bit here. You better help that digi with his stuff, or that stylist with hanging some clothes, because you're not the best at hair, mate. You better help out.
But the important thing there to take away from that, though, is how humble you are, within your career, because you have achieved great things, and you do amazing hair, and actually to still be able to be that honest, I think is an important part of your success in your career. Like I said, we started at the beginning of saying, you've got to be amenable on set. That's how you become a popular session stylist. You know, and then part of that is being humble. You can't turn up with an ego. With my first agent, you know, that was the first thing they said. They're like, no egos on set. Whatever you want to do, don't matter how special you think you are. It's not about you.
No. And I think you've got to help out. The shoot runs better that way. You know, it's just all hands on deck, isn't it?
Because I remember seeing your name about and pictures about, you know, a good few years before you won London Hairdresser.
London,
you know?
yeah.
You were putting
that was probably that stint. So that was that little bit. So it's probably Trend Vision was 2014, Fame Team 2015. I won Behind the Chair. Like there was a few little bits. Oh, Creative Head It Guy 2015. So London was, you know, I entered it because it was the region that I could be in. So I just had to. In my head, I see it as the biggest category, almost alongside with British, because London is such a, and this is no disrespect to the other regions, obviously, but there's such a kind of concentrated amount of amazing hairdressers in that kind of London region. You think where big companies have got their art teams and all that, so a lot of them come out of them into that London sort of thing. And yeah, even when I got the nomination, like I got through to the final, and I had to do my other 4 images to get my collection. I mean, that in itself was mattered enough, and in a way, that was enough for me to see my name on there. Like winning was just bonkers, still bonkers.
What do you do to cope with your fluctuating diary, the pressures of celebrities? What do you do weekly, daily to cope with all that stress?
Golf. Golf is my thing. So that's really annoying me that golf clubs have been shut. But I'm lucky, like, you know, we had a baby in lockdown. So we've got a 7-month-old now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So she's obviously keeping us really busy. And, you know, Soph's great with her. So now, like, I finish a job, you know, I used to, like, if I'd finish a job, I'd like to, you know, go for a drink afterwards or whatever. Like now I want to get home. And see Margot before she goes to bed or whatever. So I suppose, family time is not more important than ever, but it's changed, I suppose. But yeah, when I do go, because I've you know, suffered a fair bit over the last couple of years, and it's weird. I go on the golf course and I sort of forget stuff, except for the stresses of golf. But it is that kind of being out and having a walk, and it's a social thing. And I find it weird that golf and like swimming and tennis and all that has not been allowed to continue, because you can't be much more socially distant in those sort of sports. And there were petitions to bring them back, but I just feel that if they agreed with them, they would have opened a can of worms. But I've always wanted to do November, but it's always British Hairdressing Awards at the end of November, and I cannot turn up to the awards like this. So this year I was like, I'm going to have to wear a mask most of the time. And a lot, you know, two friends, people I know, however you want to call it, have, you know, taken their life. So if there's a time for me to kind of do it, even if you raise a quid, I mean, it's a quid that wasn't there, isn't it? So, and I think you've got to do it stupid. Like I went like 70s porn. Yeah. Because if you just do it normally, you've got to do it stupid to get the conversation going.
It's got to be, I mean, like you say, the money goes a long way, you know, but really it's all about the awareness. It's about the awareness. Yeah. It's about starting that conversation. It's about...
I don't even care if people don't donate sometimes. Like if I see someone, like I had this when golf club was still open, it was sort of starting to happen. And I've obviously been at shoots, you take your mask off and people are like, whoa, where'd that come from? So I don't care if they don't donate. You can then say why. And then, yeah, in our industry, maybe, yeah, it should be spoken about more. I do have, and you know, this might, and I'm not saying this to offend people or anything, but I do feel I'm kind of as I am, and you know me, mate. I just sort of say
Yeah.
it as it is. I feel like there's some people who go on a little bit too much about things like that. And that may well be their coping mechanism sometimes, if they want it to be like that. But I feel like sometimes if it's too often and thrown in people's faces, I think it can actually have a negative effect on certain people reading it.
Yeah.
Because it can either look like, are they really that bad, or are they doing this for attention? And then it also can have an effect on people where they think, oh, I'm not that bad, so maybe I'm all right. Maybe I shouldn't say anything. And I don't think that's right. I think people should acknowledge it, say something if they're not feeling great, whatever. But 3, 4, 5 times a day on things and whatever, I just feel like it becomes a little bit, you're throwing your life in my face, when there's actually people who are so bad that they might not even be able to go on Instagram or type about it.
Yeah.
And when they were maybe just about to talk about it, they've opened it up and they've seen those posts or those things. They thought, oh, maybe I'm not that bad, or I'm not as bad as that. Maybe I'll just keep quiet. So that I wanted to say that just in case anyone's watching who is worried about saying stuff because they're maybe being affected by the way that other people act like they're feeling. That they should still say something, even if they don't want to make it public. Just message someone.
Would you say, now there's a bit of advice for the young uns, you know, who's coming into session work, how important would you say having an agent is? Do you find, was that a crucial step?
No. When I first went out, I was with Carol Hayes for about 6 months, but I think everyone's been with Carol Hayes. And that's not in a bad way. She just has that thing where there's like, she's still got and people have been there for years.
Yeah.
And then I think she kind of takes people in, it's a bit of nurturing, and they're some lovely, you know, her daughter Natalie was one of the bookers, and then I went out on my own for a while. And I suppose it's tougher because you've maybe got to build your contacts. You've got to do that. If you're not great at that thing where you've got to send an email to sort of pimp yourself out a little bit. But now, like with my agent, like they're great and they know the work that I want to be doing. So they won't put me forward for something that they know isn't quite right. But for someone new, I think that time to just get your contacts, get shooting, get some like imagery. If you start to love like running your own diary, then there's nothing wrong with that. You don't lose. You don't lose 20%. Client doesn't get 20% added on. If you're good at running your books, the reason I have one as well is it just takes an element of stress away from me from invoicing and all that, because I look after all my trade stuff myself. So my agency don't get involved in any of that. So anything that's hairdressing, I do. So if I was invoicing all of that stuff with my account on my side, plus the sessions agency stuff, or what would have been agency stuff, but I think my brain would explode. And I think it's then chasing invoices. I think there is an element of credibility, obviously. But I just think arguing money, things are late, all of that is handy to have an agent. But I think starting out, no, just go out, do some nice hair, meet some nice people, and see where it takes you.
I think that's brilliant advice. I mean, you know, like you said at the beginning, it's about building that circle, isn't it? You know, even when I was coming out of, you know, makeup and hair, and the message I got then was just find some photographers, partner with some photographers, get in with some decent photographers, and, you know, try and find the cool kids, the ones that are up and coming, the people that are shooting some stuff. But like I said, you got to build a, bigger than you would expect client list.